I can see Dr. Deep. I can see Annapurna ji is also there. Oh, wonderful. Okay, great.
There are a lot of, in fact, I will keep introducing you to as many people as possible. There's Abhishek Kumar Yadav he's the chairman of Griffins International School in Kharagpur, West Bengal.
I have in fact attended a few of the sessions where Dr. Ashok was there, and in fact,
yes,
a program in IIM Ahmedabad, I was there, and so was teaching.
Yes.
Wonderful.
I remember.
I also could see my dear friend Anu from, she is the chairperson of school in my hometown, which is Jhansi. It's by the name Hansraj Academy.
Okay.
She's the chairperson there. I also see Dr. Hima. Dr. Hima is from, if I'm not wrong, she's from Gujarat, I believe.
Yeah, sir. I'm from Vadodara.
Vadodara.
Sir, I had met Dr. Ashok in the conference of Navrachna schools.
Wonderful.
Oh, you were there. You work for Navrachna?
No, I am principal of Amicus International School here, and then there you had gifted me a book on pedagogy.
Oh, I see.
have that book.
Okay. Good.
And there are a lot of, as I said, Sangeeta ji is from Gorakhpur. She is based out of Gorakhpur.
Sangeeta ji, I would like to see Sangeeta ji.
Basti.
No, Sangeeta ji, I want to see. Sangeeta ji, I am from Gorakhpur too.
Oh yes. सर आप लग रहा है कि आप कोई ऐसे हिल स्टेशन में बैठे हुए हैं कहीं नैनीताल वगैरह या कहीं वैसे नाइस सीनरी.
Yeah, I put that scenery to create a good atmosphere in the room.
I have Rashri from, I think she is in Bali, Rajasthan. Yes, she is there. Lot of, as I said, I will request firstly to begin with, I will request all of you to come on the video, see how beautifully the interaction goes through if we are all on video, I would say, right? So that's my request. We have few teachers as well. They were part of Global Teacher Network. I have invited them as well. They're progressive young teachers as well. I see Vishakha is from, Vishakha, where are you from? Basti or Balia? You are from which part of UP?
Sir, Balia.
Balia,
yes.
okay.
She's from Balia.
And Balia is the place of former Prime Minister Chandrasekhar.
Yes, sir.
आइए सत्येंद्र मिश्रा जी और बाकी I think Mathura ji was also there. Mathura ji is from Chennai. He's joining us. But having said this, I will now quickly set up the context going and quickly get the basic structure of our discussion outlined so that we keep this discussion fruitful and worthwhile to all of us.
My colleague Sanjay has also joined, I believe.
Yes, Sanjay is a very regular now, but however, since Sanjay is not on video, I'm not addressing him.
I'm on my way, so once I become stable, I'll put my video on.
No problem. So, as I was mentioning that I am beginning this conversation with a bit of a disclaimer to begin with, which is that I will request all my guests who are with us today to kindly keep this conversation completely apolitical, number one. We are here, obviously, for a fairly academic purpose, which is to look the budget, or I would say even the NEP document, which is now the precursor to our budget, I would say, in view of the education fraternities. So my request will be that we keep the discussion completely under those guidelines so that by no stretch of imagination, we would not like to make any comment which possibly will, I mean, I'm sure we are a very inconsequential group. I'm sure no one will watch this, but still, when we put this out on YouTube or any other public platform, we would ideally like to come across someone who have made the right set of observations as to the purpose which is outlined for the group, I would say. Because why I'm making this because none of us are politicians, and neither of us have ambitions to become one. So hence, I would request that we keep the discussion completely apolitical to begin with. Number two, as I said, it's a very interesting discussion, and obviously there will be, we all will have our own versions, and I'm sure we will be very, very excited to make those observations. However, as I mentioned, my only request is that in order to draw the right message back home from this conversation, is that we keep this through, or see this discussion through the lens of how will this impact the school education per se, because that's the only area we all are concerned with right now to begin with. Few things which I'm in a way eradicating from our discussion, which is that a lot of the closed corridors of people of economist backdrop or political backdrop have made this observation that there is a 6.13% what I call decrease in the allocation of the educational budget to begin with. So as I mentioned, I'm just saying that we will be possibly not discussing that point because we have no bearing on how much to be spent and what to be spent on, right? That's my idea. In fact, which is why I believe that this conversation becomes more important and need to be a little focused one. And hence we have brought in two special guests today, and they will be the one who will be driving this conversation for us. Obviously, Ashok ji needs no introduction at any forum of our country, for that matter, a very, very distinguished leader. And I was not aware that sir is from Gorakhpur, in particular from UP, but that's a news for me to begin with. And having said this, I become more closer to him because I am more near to Gorakhpur in a way. I'm staying in Lucknow these days. So having said this, for the just a benefit of in terms of introduction, sir is presently the director at the Elcon Group of Schools in New Delhi, looking after the group of schools this institution is running. Very, very distinguished thought leader. I would say, as I said, he wears multiple hats, from being chair to multiple forums, I would say, and doing a fabulous job. But more than that, whenever I had the opportunity of listening to Ashok ji, I have always found that his thoughts resonates the larger sentiment of the community, and hence I thought he'll be the best person in order to bring to the forums today's discussion. I'm not sure of if Mr. Vivek has been able to join us so far. Mr. Vivek Atre, I will obviously introduce him once he is able to join us. Now, having said this, the format of our discussion will remain very simple. Since we have brought in our guest, they will be driving this conversation. They will be making their very informed observation about the budget and its impact on the school education per se. After that, once both the speakers have spoken, we will open up, obviously, the house for a very lively conversation with all of you, in fact. To begin with, I will, in fact, begin with something which I read as recently as today, in fact, which was an article which Ashok sir has contributed very recently for Financial Express, which I believe. And I think I will start from the last line of that conversation, which I believe is a wonderful way to begin this. How best to harness the private sector's full potential, is that what he said as the last sentence of that article of his, which he has contributed for the Financial Express, because somewhere or the other, in my own view, I think the budget does lay an impact, or I would say talks about few things which maybe not directly concern, but have been able to touch upon the private sector's contribution towards the fulfillment of NEP document, I would say. With that as my backdrop, as I said, I am not even qualified to do any observation about it. But having said this, I leave it to Ashok ji's wise company in order to drive this conversation for us. Over to you, Ashok sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Gaurav. It is always a pleasure to talk to you, meet you, come to your show. Coming to your show is energizing always. And once I come to your show, I get the fuel and energy for next 6 months. And I run around the world with that energy. So I have come here for a refilling once again, almost after a few months. I also see a lot of wonderful people in the room. So your aura and your prana vayu is reaching me, and I'm getting further energized. So thank you very much. You have already given a lot of disclaimers, Gaurav. I can understand your little bit of anxiety that you don't want your platform to be tarnished in any manner. But I can assure you, we are a democratic society. We will not take sides. And since we are academicians, I think we will always talk objectively, and we should always speak our mind. Okay. And you know, that is the only thing that we have not done so far as academicians, particularly school-based, that we don't speak our mind. And that is why we do suffer also a bit, you know. But somebody has suggested that you must speak your mind, even if your voice shakes, okay? So I think speaking your mind is the more important thing. And our intention will decide if we are taking a side or not. So well taken, your disclaimer. But this budget, I want to, you know, demystify this budget in a way, because as academicians, I think, and as citizens of this country, we have never ever attributed so much of attachment to this budget, or any budget for that matter. You know, as a middle class, I assume most of us belong to middle class. Our only concern about budget has been how has the tax rebate gone up or gone down, okay? So I started knowing about the budget only when first time I came into income tax paying bracket. And then my accountant in the school said, sir, this year 2,000 rupees you have to pay for income tax. And I said, come on, yeah, tell me how to save that. Okay. So I think this is the common refrain that all of us have. But budget is a different thing. And budget, you know, it is, imagine 135 crore people, you know. So where will the money, every single penny come? And where will that single concern of all the citizens, not only of the cabinet or not only of the finance minister? But budget preparation, let me tell you, is just like you and I prepare our children for taking part in a debate, in inter-school competitions, you see? So the finance minister prepares months in advance that whole speech. The figures are put in later, but how it will begin, what it will be addressed, and most of the finance ministers have always quoted, you know, so Chanakya is quoted, Rabindranath Tagore is quoted, Vivekananda is quoted, the other poets and poetess, everybody is quoted, just to give a context in the budget. So I have prepared a small presentation for each one of you. I think Gaurav has about 15, 18 minutes for me in the beginning. Gaurav, am I right?
Yes, sir. Please,
so I can share my screen.
Yes,
Gaurav?
Yes, sir.
Of course. So here we are. So now you see, ladies and gentlemen, P. Chidambaram. So, you know, let me begin with, he's one of the foremost prime ministers he's been home minister. He's a very, very accomplished lawyer, as all of you know. And when he quoted one of the Nobel laureate economists, you know, Joseph Stiglitz, and he said that there is a compelling moral case for equity, but it is also necessary that if there is to be a sustained growth, a country's most important resources are its people. So just see the relationship between equity and people. So that gives the philosophical context to the preparation of budget, that we have to ensure that every citizen of the country is equipped for life and livelihood, education, you know, the clean water, energy, living conditions, education, everything. That is what the primary example here he gives. But on the other hand, you know, many finance ministers had to take very harsh decisions. And it is in that context that one of our very distinguished finance ministers who became president of the country later said, I must be cruel to be the kind, you know, and that he quoted from Hamlet. And that was when the economy was liberalizing in this country and some hard doses were to be given. And that is what he quoted to make a context of his budget. And you know, demonetization is a recent thing all of us will remember. Unfortunately, he is no more with us, Arun Jaitley, and he read or recited this couplet after demonetization. इस मोड़ पर घबरा के न थम जाइए, जो बात नई है उसे अपनाइए, डरते हैं नई राह पर क्यों चलने से, हम आगे आगे चलते हैं, आइए आप. This is what Arun Jaitley said, and he prepared the country for the hardships that might come. And here comes our present finance minister in this year's budget. If you read it, you know, the pandemic, the economy contraction. Gaurav, you said it has been reduced. Let me clarify that point. It is a fact that in actual terms, 6,000 crore has been reduced. So that is a fact. But if you take in terms of GDP, okay, because our GDP itself has become less. So as a percentage of GDP, it is not lessened. In fact, it is a very marginal increase, insignificant, though
okay.
It is not that. You get
Contraction of the GDP, yes, correct.
So actual money, yes, 6,000 less in that quota. But as percentage of GDP, marginally, insignificantly more. So what does she have to say? Faith is the bird that feels the light and sings when the dawn is still dark. You know, this is from the aphorisms of Rabindranath Tagore. And this is what Nirmala ji said before she began her presentation of the budget. And before presenting the budget, she took around 5 to 10 minutes time to pay her gratitude to the resilience of our countrymen and to the kind of adaptability, preparation. Despite all the difficulties that we have, she devoted 2 or 3 paragraphs on paying gratitude to every citizen of this country. And then she quoted this, and then she began. So what has been this budget? I will not go into the previous ones. I will begin with this budget. So this whole budget has been distributed into 6 parts. And she has given the nomenclature, as we call it, 6 pillars. So what are those 6 pillars? Health and well-being, physical and financial capital, inclusive development and aspirational India, reinvigorating human capital. It is in this 4th pillar that education comes. And then innovation and research and development. And the last is minimum government and maximum governance. So these are the 6 pillars, and the money has gone to this. Now, as you see this, it was obvious this year that health required more money. And therefore, the total health thing has got more money. I'll come to about it a little later. The financial and physical, this government has taken the infrastructural route to present the budget. I'll tell you the reason for that, as far as my understanding is concerned. So the rail, the road, the bus transport system, the entire banking, finance, every infrastructure has been given a boost in this particular thing. Inclusive development and aspirational India, that is very, very important. You know, every budget given by any government anywhere in the world is judged by how the government is taking care of its most marginalized. And therefore, inclusive budget and financing to uplift the poor, I think that is the best criteria to judge the intent of any government anywhere in the world. And therefore, it applies to Indian government as well. And similarly, education, the name here is invigorating human capital. So it includes school education, it includes higher education, technical education, vocational education, informal education, distant education, digital education, everything is included in this. But innovation and research and development, this government has a different priority, and they have put it as another pillar. And of course, this government, as part of their intention to digitize things, make it transparent, make governments accountable, the minimum government and maximum governance is coming forth here. So that is, in nutshell, the whole structure of this budget. And why this budget is, you know, if you want to uplift your country, you need to go through 3 different layers. You need a very sound policy. So you have to understand that what are the main drivers of your policies and programs, what motivates you, and how you want to take everybody along. So that is the first thing. The second thing is that your whole game plan has to be inclusive. No government can afford to work only for some and not for others, you know. So wealth for some and impoverishment for others gives a gap, and that is where the inequality festers. And when inequality festers, the societies become restless, and the friction and tension, loss of peace, everything emanates from there. So that is why the strategy has to be very, very good. And if your policy is sound, your strategies are good, I think you need to have the art of operationalizing it. You know, you have to operationally, you have to be very, very good, you see, and your artful execution of your own policies. So how you buy in people, you know, what initiatives you take, what is the kind of push and momentum you give to achieve a strategic success, that is something very, very important. So that is the second part of the budget. So with this introduction, let me give you something what this government has done. I talked about health stimulus. So for the first time, the entire ecosystem of health infrastructure has got a boost of 137%. The total allocation will be somewhere to the tune of 2.23 lakh crores. And this will have two special schemes. Of course, for COVID, especially there is 35,000 crore allocated. And the second is for the PM Atmanirbhar Swasth Bharat Yojana. And for that, 64,000 plus crore has been given. This apart from other things, you know, not that the other things will not be there. So for the primary, secondary, tertiary health centers, wellness of the people, everything will be taken care of. So one is the health stimulus. And this was the first pillar, if you remember. So the government has taken that, and this was also the expectation of the people. Now in COVID, what do you expect? Nobody would expect that the government will not spend money on COVID vaccine research. People will not expect that even if the research is done and COVID vaccine is available, it should be available at unaffordable prices. So therefore, the government has to give this stimulus. The second thing is, which is very, very important, and this I'm again quoting here Swami Vivekananda, which Arun Jaitley ji has already said, that Swami Vivekananda's dream of this country was that you merge yourself in the void and disappear, and let new India arise in your place. Let her arise out of the peasant's cottage, grasping plow, out of huts of fishermen. Let her spring from the grocer's shop, from beside the oven of the fruitful cellar. Let India emanate from the factory, from the marts, from the markets. Let her emerge from groves and forests and from hills and mountains. You know, so if that is the profound philosophy, I mean, any government worth its salt can never ignore it. And that is why when the government is fixing its budget, they have everybody in mind. And that is why no government can ever claim and should not claim that they have made everybody happy in the country with their budget. It never happens. It never happens. So that is something that I thought I'll share with you. And then comes the aspirational youth. You know, I mean, the youth population, we are today the youngest country in the world. And therefore, this chunk of large population that constitutes the young, they also need to be taken care of apart from their education and research and innovation. And therefore, what they have done is the Startup India story has been restructured. And some of the bottlenecks have been removed. You know, the caps have been removed, the additional pumping has been given, some defaults which were criminalized, they have been decriminalized. In a sense, some kind of hope has been given to the youth, and a trust building has been initiated by the government of India that we are here to support you. And therefore, do not only look for jobs by the government, but be an entrepreneur yourself, and you become a job creator rather than a job seeker. So that is another thrust of this particular budget. And now I'm slowly moving to education. And some of you might be wondering why education is coming so late in my presentation. Now, education has got two aspects to it. One is what I call pure education in schools and colleges and universities and everywhere else. Another aspect of education is how do you enable education? So people sitting in this room may not have direct experience in our respective schools, but let us talk of the countrywide scenario. In this country, malnutrition is a huge problem. You will be shocked to know that 24% of the children under the age 5 in this country are malnutrition. 33% of them have a stunted growth. Their body and bone growth ratio is skewed. Millions of children in this country do not have clean drinking water. They do not have clean energy in which they can sit and study, okay? And therefore, the midday meal, that is another problem, you know? Most of the children, they cannot afford meal. And if they have to afford meal, then they will have to miss school because they will have to go with their parents to work somewhere. They will have to support their parents. And therefore, midday meal is one of the enablers of education. So government has spent a lot of money to create this enabling environment around education. And that is why National Poshan Mission, in which the nutrition efficiency will be increased. So that is something very, very important. Midday meal, that whole structure is being revamped. The cleanliness of the water, sanitation. In this budget, the entire urban township covering crores of people, they will be connected with piped water. Now, it looks very simple to us because we have never suffered maybe because of non-availability of clean water, but just imagine if clean water is not available, children will develop diarrhea, cholera, other diseases. They will die. They will grow in a very, very stunted manner. And therefore, the clean water is one of the needs. So these enablements government has done in the right sense, and all those allocations are also there. So after this, I come to the pure education, and that is where some of us have our complaints. Now, what happens is that the overall education budget that we get, most of that goes into operations. And what do I mean by operations? That is called salaries and other things. But if you really have to build quality, you need new schools, new buildings, new infrastructure, new laboratories, teacher training materials, teacher training inputs. So there is a whole lot of things where the money is required. And this year, the expectation was that since we are going to go into the implementation phase of NEP, a government will directly announce some 1,000 crores that here is the money and it will only be utilized for NEP. So that has not come in a very, very direct form. And that is why people like us are a little disappointed. But we still understand that for all the projects under NEP, under the supplementary grant which the government has, those grants will come. But right in the beginning also, with that 6,000 less that Gaurav talked about, so 90,000 crore, out of that 58,000 crore is for school education and the remaining is for higher education. So for school education, the money less is 5,000, and for higher education, the money less is 1,000 in actual terms, but not in terms of as percentage of GDP, as I clarified. So this is one thing. Now this year, the government has announced that 100 new Sainik schools will come. Now, this is something, a big thing. Every state, barring UP, which has got 2, but most of the state, in fact, 2 or 3 states do not have it. But let me tell you here for simplicity that most of the states have got these Sainik schools. And they are jointly operated by the state and the center. Center has a greater stake in it. States have a lesser stake in it. And most of the states were demanding, and many people were asking for more Sainik schools because Sainik schools have stood the test of time for their quality, for the values they impart, the contribution they have made in the armed forces, in other services. So the government has agreed to it, but a good thing with this has come is that this will also be done by inviting philanthropists, NGOs, and private players. So here is an opportunity to work with the government if some private body is interested in it. 7,000 Ekal Vidyalayas. Now, Ekal Vidyalayas are low budget residential schools, particularly in the tribal areas. So the tribal areas children, they need to come and stay in a residential school to fully harness their potential. And these Ekal Vidyalayas, the 700, and there are many Ekal Vidyalayas already, and their unit cost of expenditure was around 25 crore to 30 crore. Now government has raised it to 48 crore per unit. So a lot of money will be required there. And these 700 Ekal Vidyalayas will come. KVs and NVs budget has been augmented. In the school sector, 15,000 schools, and hopefully both government and private will be selected to be given the status of centers of excellence, and where the NEP will be implemented as a model school, and they will become the catalysts and centers of furthering the cause of NEP for the rest of the schools. So that also has come. And of course, the government has committed that is strengthening NEP's implementation is very close and very dear to the heart of the government, and that will also come. So this is the overall scenario as far as school education is concerned. And the last thing is this debate, I want to put it into perspective. In India, right from 1968, there has been a demand by the education commissions that 6% of GDP will come to education. NEP has also talked about it. And that is why people like me were very, very hopeful that this year it will happen. But of course, let us not forget the 1 year of pandemic due to COVID-19. And therefore, there was some difficulty, but I am confident. But here is a statistics I bought from Global Education Monitoring Report. And they have studied the education budget of almost 150 countries. And they have prepared an index. And they wanted to come out with a conclusion that what should be the minimum GDP that the government should spend. And they have not been able to come out with a figure, but they have appealed to all the governments that a minimum of 4% of GDP you must spend, because that is the minimum to sustain quality education and lifelong learning for all. This government said in NEP 6%, and therefore I have commented that this is not a big target for the government, and I think sooner or later this government will honor this particular commitment that they have made to themselves. So this is the scenario of the budget vis-a-vis NEP, vis-a-vis the budget for education. With this, I rest my case here, and probably we can take the question answer session a little later. Over to you, Gaurav.
Thank you, sir. Fantastic. In fact, which is why always pleasure to have you. What a wonderful overall perspective, and I'm sure this will resonate well with everyone, and we'll take up the question and answer once Mr. Vivek has spoken up as well. And I see Mr. Vivek has joined us. So firstly, welcome, Vivek. Good to have you with us. And for the benefit of all of our leaders today joining us, Mr. Vivek is very, very dear friend and a very integral part of IPN journey. For the benefit of all of you, he was a director of education for the state of Haryana, a former IAS officer he is, which means he must have, I'm sure, very closely looked while he was an IAS officer, and I'm sure he must have also looked this year's budget as well, and a very, very prolific author and a motivational speaker. Vivek, over to you. We would love to hear from you, and then we will take up Q&A for both our leaders. Some problem with your network. You're not audible.
Very good and important presentation. Okay, I'm just
Vivek, problem with your audio. I think your net. Not audible, Vivek. Is Vivek audible, or is it my network which is giving a problem?
We can't hear him.
So he is not audible, and I think he also left. Like there is some network issue. So
I was just checking, is it my network or his network? So just
no, sir. It's Vivek sir's network.
okay. I think he'll join in. In the meanwhile, Mr. Vivek joins us. I would say I think we can quickly huddle up and we'll take up a few questions if we have, and if you have any observations to also share, we would love to discuss. And I think Dr. Ashok is already with us, so he'll be more than happy to converse with us. Any observations, gentlemen or ladies? And I'm sure I've given you all the point is that we have this option of muting and unmuting. You can do it very well at your own end itself. Sir, मेरा question था sir आपसे, Ashok sir, to begin with before the time I think.
Sure.
अच्छा, हरवंत सिंह जी पूछना चाह रहे हैं कुछ आपसे, एक बार वो पूछ लें फिर आए because हरवंत जी, हाँ बोलिए जी।
Yeah, good evening everybody. Good evening Ashok sir. Thank you. Gaurav, आप बहुत अच्छा platform दे रहे हैं. Actually, my question is not concerned with the government budget. It is concerned with my own concern. I am going to head a school from new session, which is depriving school, suffering from almost 6 years. A school which is not able to meet its all expenses, and at one stage of time it was #1 school of the town, but it is now depriving. So can you please give me some suggestions? What should be my key areas of you can say key attention on which I should focus with the almost 60% of required.
Yeah, Gaurav.
हरवंत, go ahead. आपकी आवाज रुक गई बीच में, आपने म्यूट कर लिया अपने आप को.
Okay, sorry. So my point is this: ki when I'm having budget with me only up to 60% of what is required to run the school. So in this situation, what should be my key areas I should focus on, and how exactly I can plan a small budget of a school?
हरवंत, आपसे एक दरख्वास्त करेंगे. ये क्वेश्चन विवेक जी इज विद अस नाउ एंड आई एम श्योर आपको आज आंसर इसका दिला देंगे, इसको बोलते हैं. बट आई विल रिक्वेस्ट विवेक जी टू ओवर टू यू, एंड हरवंत, डोंट वरी, यू स्टिक अराउंड, वी विल गेट योर क्वेश्चन आंसर्ड फॉर श्योर. Okay?
Sure.
That's the only request I'm making from you. Vivek, are you there, Vivek? आप हैं वहाँ? Vivek, you are the co-host now. You can unmute and good to go. Vivek है वैसे हमारे साथ, but I think he's unable to mute or unmute. In the meanwhile, Ashok sir, if you would like to make an observation for Harwant, sir. Yeah.
I think Dr. B. Singh is raising his hand. Is he? Probably he can answer this question better.
अच्छा, B. Singh जी बोलिए. अच्छा, मेरा virtual show hand दिख रहा था.
Thank you very much. Good evening to everyone. I wanted to ask one question, Dr. Pade. Center of Excellence के लिए, what is status? Have they defined some attributes and indicators? Or still we have to work on that?
No, they will work on it. Now it has been projected in the budget. So budget projection is a policy. Now this policy will come to Ministry of Education, and then they have to work with the states and NCERT and SCERTs, and they will create a rubric for this selection first. So that will come now, maybe in a month or 2 months time, that will happen.
And the CBSE is also working on other projects, like 3% schools they intend to give to QCI also for quality audits.
Yes. So, you know,
many things are going on.
I mean, with due apology to Gaurav, I'm not restraining myself, and I'm telling it that one problem that this country faces is that we have got multiple agencies for the same thing. And sometimes we create confusion in the minds of the people, okay? And that is what is going to happen in this case also. Now CBSE is parallelly working, but right now my understanding, Dr. Singh, is that audit of a school to enhance your quality or to give you a certification is a different thing, and that will happen. And that is applicable only to CBSE affiliated schools. But these 15,000 schools will come from across the country as centers of excellence, as centers of NEP modeling. So that will be a different thing. That is my understanding of the whole thing.
Okay.
Now, now coming to the question which the gentleman had asked yesterday, before, my submission is that, look, unless we have the complete data as to why the finances have come down, why your budget is only 60%, where the whole thing has contracted, number of children has reduced, or the fee is not coming, or you have not been able to raise the fee, or your infrastructure established cost is more. I think we need to have a complete data on the table. Then only I can give you some suggestion as to how to go. Otherwise, I will only be talking in vacuum. But yes, since this question has been raised, I think some of the fundamental principles of policy making we can deploy here, that whatever budget you have, your idea of imparting quality education should not be compromised. Because if your education suffers, this budget will shrink further. That is my fear. And therefore, if you have asked what is my first thing, the first thing is how to ensure that those children who are with us, they get the best education and they become the ambassadors to talk to other people that, look, the education that we are getting here, nobody else can provide this education for this money. So if that kind of a strategy we put in place, probably that will be the initiation of the greener days for this particular school. But any other idea, I will not hazard any guess, and I'll not be in a position to give any suggestion unless I know a little more.
Hi, Gaurav, can I come in, please?
Nisha, give me a little. Can I just check once with Vivek? Vivek, are you ready? Because we were trying to reach you. I think there was no response back. Vivek, Mr. Vivek? Acha. Nisha, you can respond back.
I think Nisha ji can come to my rescue and give some suggestions.
Good evening, Dr. Pandey. How are you? Good to see you again.
Good evening.
So I don't know if I can rescue you or not. You don't need to be rescued, honestly, I'm too modest. But I just had a question around, what we were talking about QCI. And I have been a little confused, so wanted an understanding at this platform as well. That, we're talking about quality control, and I've seen a few, some of these, agencies which are coming for auditing. They focus largely on systems and practices. Which is a given, I think, when a school has been running or a principal has a certain amount of experience, there is a system and practice in place for it to make it run. Now, the NEP is talking a lot about teacher training and what happens actually the softer part of it, which should be the auditing part. Nowhere do I see, or maybe the exposure that I've had, I have not seen these auditing agencies or companies or organizations work on that. Now they tell you to have your paper in place, do a teacher appraisal, have a great classroom, but they don't come and tell you, how do I do a teacher appraisal? Because is a teacher appraisal as simple as doing a corporate teacher appraisal where your bottom line is the number of sales you've done? No. So that's my understanding. So how do you rate some of these, the so-called auditing agencies, and which one?
Okay.
Maybe off the line, we'll discuss which one is the best, so that, because we'd love to be audited.
Certainly offline is always an ideal thing, but here also, because it is a tribe of the same community of people, all of us are in the same boat. There is no harm in calling a spade a spade. So it is true. So once we say quality audit, if you audit and you say that, look, this is what you should be, and this is where you are. And then there is an intervention to move from place A to place B, then only the purpose of audit is served. My fear is that the people who do quality audit, they will only give you your scorecard. But how to improve that scorecard, I don't think they are competent. And I also don't think it is their mandate to do that, right? So for that, I think we will have to involve another expert or agency or whatever it is. So if QCI comes into it, as Dr. B. Singh has also said, and if CBSE is doing it, my fear is that they will only tell you that you are at this level, and CBSE will take a decision what to do with you. If somebody asks my suggestion, I'll say that is only to tell you that you are at level A and you have to go to level B. You are given time and do it, and nobody is punished for being at level A or minus A or A plus. So there should not be a punitive component to this auditing. It is always an improvement component. So everybody would like to improve, all right. And for that, whatever help is required, I think we can get it. So that is what my limited understanding of your question is. And of course, I will tell you one international standard of auditing, Nisha. You know, I think all of you should go to Global Education Monitoring Report. That's a fantastic document. And we should also go to the World Bank is financing standards of education in 6 states of this country, including Himachal Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, and so on. And what they are going to do is that they will only intervene to do 2 or 3 things. What are those 2 or 3 things? Number one, at the level of class 1, what is the understanding of the children in numeracy and in language? At level 3, what it is. At level 5, what it is. This is one linear understanding. The second is that between boys and girls, what is the difference, if at all any, and how you're going to bridge it. Then they will also say that from the marginalized communities, the vulnerable communities, how you have done inclusion and also enhance their quality of learning. So these are the parameters on which our learning outcome is going to be judged. In fact, the NEP has also talked about creating a school-based standards for their performances. And the work is already begun in NCERT. And very soon those standards will also come and we will have to follow it. So I think we are very, very conscious of improving our quality. You know, I will tell you one more thing. Gaurav, just permit me 1 minute more. Vivek ji is already here. I know I'm holding him. You know, the government of India, as 192 more countries, they are all signatories to the Sustainable Developmental Goals. I just now talked about it. If Gaurav, at the end I get a time, I will just revisit that.
Absolutely.
And in that, every country has to give their own self-assessment that how much you have achieved on all the goals. And one of the goals is goal number 4, quality education and lifelong learning for all. And within quality education, there are 100 parameters. And you have to prepare your own index. And on that index, you will be judged whether you are a learning rich country or you are a learning poor country. And that judgment will be done by UNESCO under the UN's mandate. So I think things are not going to be very easy for any country. In 21st century, I think we are all accountable to the entire world, not only to our own population and our own country. So these are some of the indicators that I have shared with you, and probably we can talk about it a little later.
Sanjay, we will take up your question in a bit. I know you were having a...
No problem at all.
Yeah. Mr. Vivek, Mr. Vivek is facing a lot of trouble with the internet. I believe we are still trying if he can. Vivek, are you audible? Am I audible to you now?
Can you hear me?
Can
you hear me?
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, Gaurav, my apologies. I'm traveling and the internet is really bad, but I'll speak for only 2 or 3 minutes. Don't want to disturb the meeting. And I'm very impressed with the presentation of Dr. Pandey. I must say he's done a very comprehensive job and really covered everything that needed to be. I will talk a little bit about implementation, because I know that the education and healthcare sector are priorities for the government, but we really don't have enough allocation even now. And if you look at the NEP, the National Education Policy, if you want to implement it, you will have to enhance the level of contribution of the government to the education sector. But if you look at the healthcare sector, it has been enhanced, yet it's much, much less than a country like the US, which could be touching about 15 to 17% of the GDP allocation for healthcare sector. A poor country like India, even then in percentage terms, we have to allocate more to education and health. But talking about implementation, you see, whatever budget we allocate, is it reaching that village school in Bihar or Odisha or Rajasthan or Jammu Kashmir or Tamil Nadu? Is it impacting or affecting the lives of those students and teachers if we speak of education? And is it impacting the life and the model of the area? I'm afraid not. And little that the budget has to do with these factors which influence the lives of most of people in India. So what I do is to carry out implementation at monitoring at all levels. You see, the deputy commissioner of a district covers the entire country, because if you look at the set of district commissioners, the entire country you can connect within 1 hour or something. No DC has to travel more than 1 hour in a smaller state or in a smaller district, and could be about 2 to 3 hours maximum in a big district to reach the remotest areas. So in my view, the district commissioner's input should be taken in future before the budget is finalized. Their priorities should be given a credence, and the macro level picture as well as the micro level picture need to be kept in view. This is not budget only, but it has been the case in all budgets over the years. It is very easy to juggle these figures, but are we really changing the lives of the people and the common people on the street? That is something which is far flung. So therefore, all schemes, all announcements, all real environment in the ground realities. So I think if we do that, and if other important sectors. So,
okay. I think we have.
That's my viewpoint.
Okay, I think Vivek is in a very bad network area, I believe. But having said this, we got the gist of his thought process. What he was he was a public servant who was working at an important state of India. He was editor of education with Haryana, and what he means is that does this money really percolates down to the last person or the last man in our towns, I would say. That's what he was trying to say. And having said this, Vivek, I wish we could hear more of your points. But having said this, we'll now open up the discussion. And I think there were a few points, Ashok ji and Sanjay, we'll begin with you. I think you had a question or a query to be made. And then we'll go to the gentleman who has I think Urja Delhi. I don't know your name, sir.
He is Dr. B. Singh. He's Dr. B.
Singh. We'll go to Dr. B. Singh as well after that. And then we'll obviously take up other observation. Yeah, please. Sanjay, over to you first. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Gaurav. Of course, as Vivek ji was talking about, we all understand and we all fully agree that health and education, these are the two most significant and two most important areas where the investment is required, where growth is required, because they're the real measure. And as I said, that this time has decided on the prioritization. So definitely health gets a better priority, I understand. But simultaneously, this pandemic time has also made us all realize that the outreach of education and the time when NEP has come in picture requires a lot of input. And NEP has been received so very enthusiastically and everybody is gearing up for that. Our digital infrastructure to some extent has supported, but I feel the sector is feeling little down in terms of budget allocation, and we need more enthusiasm. We need to look forward and we need to reach out. So I hope, just as we all think and plan that the implementation of NEP will go in the right manner, there is a need of enthusiastic input. There is a need of public-private partnership. There is a need of pulling in more resources and a lot more improvement and establishment of digital infrastructure so that we are able to reach the education to everybody who deserves it and who needs it also. So this was my thought. I thought I must share it with you.
Thank you, Sanjay, for your observation. I will come to Dr. B. Singh ji. Now I have your name, so thank you.
Yeah. See, I want to supplement what discussion was going on, and Nisha ji was also asking about QCI. See, there are two processes. One is CBSE is doing affiliation. Vis-a-vis QCI and other such organization, QCI being an organization of repute, of course, has its own identity. So in audit and assessment by QCI, there are all three parts of the process are considered. In affiliation, we mainly concentrate on input dimensions. The certain conditions, your room size should be this, your budget should be this, some regulatory and statutory requirements we see. But in audit, we consider process as well as output. So it's not that there is a gap analysis only done. The process is also focused. The output is also focused. The complete process, I mean the system is considered. And the entire, for example, there is a lot of emphasis on action research, a lot of example on the continual improvement, on PDCA cycle. In every process, 30 to 50 processes are normally there in the school. So as such, a lot of research is going on, and QCI has been invited by many countries of the world to do their quality audit. So I'm not advocating that QCI will get or QCI will not get. That's a different issue altogether. But body doing affiliation like CBSE and doing audit also probably may not do that justice. There has to be third party. So whether it is QCI or some other organization. So that was my...
Okay, fair enough. I think that's a fair observation. Poonam Singhal-ji, you wanted to make an observation, and then after Chitrikala, Ms. Chitrikala after that. Yeah, Ms. Poonam, to begin with you.
Yeah, so I agree with what Dr. Singh just said. In fact, if you see the Dubai schools, they have a very focused KHDA, which takes into consideration all aspects of the human development. It's not only about education, it's about holistic growth and holistic development. And I think if our country has to move forward, we should be incorporating something of that sort in our country. That was my observation as far as the budget for education is concerned. And since we are talking on this platform, I agree that it is not the CBSE who should be doing the audits for the school. It should be third party, it should be outsourced, so that there is a genuine feedback and it is not fudged. We see that a lot of fudging happens as far as these audits and observations are concerned. The feedback given should be constructive. I loved one lady who coined the word that it should be feed forward and not feedback, because taking any, giving suggestion is what feed forward would mean. So I guess if you do something like that, it will help the education system tremendously. Thank you.
Thank you, Poonamji. Thank you. And I'm sure there are very distinguished guests maybe and who work very closely with CBSE. Certainly I do not. And so we can pass on that message to them as well. Having said this, Chitrikala ji, over to you, your question and observation. And I believe we are circling around our topic of discussion only. Yeah.
Yeah. Good evening, Gaurav. It's a wonderful session. I should definitely, I was really enjoying Mr. Ashok Pandey's presentation. It was wonderful because I could connect myself. I'm nowhere closer to finance and all of that, but I definitely could connect myself to that. I am not here to ask any questions. I just wanted to share my experiences. Before this particular assignment, I was working in a school in Abu Dhabi, wherein I've undergone these inspections, the quality inspections. As people are voicing out here, it was given to a different party altogether over there. It was not by the ministry, a separate party. But before all of that, as a school, we had to prepare a school development plan, which had focus on the micro, and the macro goals that we have to keep. And every single person in the school had to be responsible and had to be designated with a particular goal to be attained. And a time limit was given. And as you know, the plan itself, the development plan will have areas like how much budget is required for each of that particular area. So when this is planned with the time when we are going to start and when we are going to end, that will be your Bible for the whole year or till the time when the inspection is done. And we have to follow that plan, very, very judiciously and religiously, so that, we can actually go ahead to what is required. Once this is done, there will be a self-assessment done by the school. Again, there will be 6 parameters on which, because again, I can say it is an all-round assessment, which will be covered in the 6 parameters. And there will be gradations. You can grade yourself where you stand, and you have to be transparent to grade yourself. Once you grade yourself, this self-assessment is going to be submitted to that particular agency who is going to come to inspect you. And once they get it, they look at yourself, how you have graded yourself, and they come and inspect you on all the areas. After that, they'll give a comparative judgment. They will say, this is what you quoted, and this is what we observed. If both of them are same, your school is absolutely fantastic. It is not like everything should be perfect. You can be in 30%, but when you agree, you are there. So there is a chance for you to improve. If you say you are 20%, 30%, and if you project yourself 60 or 80, your gradation is going to come down. This is one thing which I really liked over there when I was experiencing these inspections. Later, as Mr. Pandey was just telling, they will direct you, they'll show you the way, this is what you have to do, this is what, but they will not guide you. It's us taking those observations and how we prepare or tweak our development plan, school development plan, and then how we take experts' ideas into that and how we work and do it later. That is how, because I faced 3 inspections there. Believe it, it is wonderful. They, give you a very clear picture what at times as a principal have not even, because you get used to certain things in a school when you do, so they will be pointing out, then you realize this is what we missed out. So this inspections, as far as my knowledge goes, is not pointing out your troubles or your mishaps or whatever you have not done, but it is just to guide you to come out. That's what was my experience all through when I was working there. And, I think when I heard these kind of inspections are going to happen with CBSE, I'm really, really looking forward for it, because I want to see how best, when the world is doing, why not we, when we have such a lot of, and when they were telling, how are we going to assess ourselves with the comparatively to the global level? Yes, the PISA test, once I have conducted there, yes, the results were really devastating. But that is how, we get to know where we stand. We'll understand what is our capacities and what we have to grow on. So I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Gaurav. It was really good.
Wonderful. Fantastic, fantastic. Now, okay, though we are at 6:04, but I am still opening up the house for Q&A. I think Dr. Ashok is still with us, and I'm sure Vishakha has a observation. Vishakha, over to you.
Yeah, only one sentence. I must also compliment Dr. Pandey for sharing very well research work done. Really, he has given good insight of the entire budget, and especially the education school.
And I will say that sir should also consider doing a PhD in economics somewhere or the other, and I'm sure
yes. Real work.
Okay, so that is also mandate of NEP, that you should be lifelong learner.
Lifelong learner, yeah.
I will do that also.
Okay, Vishakha, you had something to say? Vishakha, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Sir, actually, I want to ask from Ashok, sir. Sir, first of all, the presentation which you just displayed was really like you have just explained all budget in such a beautiful way, in such a small way, and it was so much clearly understood by us. Sir, actually, my question is that is strengthening of 15,000 schools, it is given in our NEP. So, sir, 15,000 is school, like it is just 1% of the total schools in India. So which schools it will be actually, which will be focused?
Vishaka ji, thank you very much for your kind words. I don't know which 15,000 schools, but I know one thing. One of them will certainly be one of the Sunbeam schools. Okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
So as we discussed in the beginning, Dr. B. Singh raised this question that a rubric will come for that. There will be a criteria, we have to make a criteria as to, so we have to take schools from the private sector, from the government sector. Every state quota will be there. Northeast quota will be there, the tribal, the hill area, the KVs, the NVs. India is a large country, you know that. And every section of the society is to be represented. So that detail will come. The announcement has been made only recently. But I'm sure good schools should look forward to this. But this is now. The next, another 15,000, maybe next budget, 50,000 will come. So this is just the beginning. Is it okay, Vishaka ji?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Maybe we can work to create some rubrics, like-minded people can join together.
Of course.
We can create some rubrics.
And suggest to the government. Yes, absolutely. Fantastic idea. Yeah.
Good idea. Any other one? Any other observation, question? I think we can't thank Dr. Ashok enough, but what a lovely, honestly, I was pleasantly surprised that how beautifully in those limited slides you could give us the entire document of not just the education budget. I would say you give us the glimpse of entire overall budget. I was fantastic.
Gaurav, can I share one slide for
please,
a minute?
Sir, please, all yours. Please, all yours.
Cover up the whole thing.
Ji sir, please.
So this is the slide that I was talking about. Let me make it full screen. One more second. Yeah, here you are. Gaurav,
Ji.
You can see the screen?
Ji.
All right. So just, ladies and gentlemen, a quick, if you just glue a little closer to your screen, you will find health and well-being. And you have about 6 icons above.
Correct.
3, 6, 7, 13, 14, and 15. And these are the goals of sustainable developmental goal.
Correct.
So under health and well-being, 6 of the 17 goals are covered. So good health and well-being, the energy, clean energy, the environmental energy, this comes under this. Under infrastructure, you have got decent work, sustainable cities, responsible consumption. Those 3 goals will come under this. Similarly, inclusive development, no poverty, no hunger, reducing inequalities, that is the inclusive part of it. And as I said, under human capital, the quality education and gender equality, they come under this. Innovation itself is one of the goals, industry, innovation, and infrastructure. And the minimum government and maximum governance means that our institutions should be very strong, rule of law should be followed, justice and peace, and of course, working together as a community and partnership. So what I'm trying to tell you here is that these are the 17 goals which are mandated by the United Nations, and all the governments of the world, whatever format they may be, they had to adhere to this if they are signatories. We are the signatories, and therefore equity and excellence for every child and every human being in a country is the only indicator of a sustainable society. And therefore the entire exercise of budgeting and later its implementation, Vivek ji was saying that implementation, and I have mentioned it. If you remember in my next slide, I said the operational art is very, very important thing. So how do we ensure that everything that has been budgeted is reaching the beneficiary So that is what the government has to do. And that is where the people and civil society, they also have to participate to ensure that the hard-earned money of the citizens do not go waste. So these are the two things I thought that I'll share with you, just to reiterate the whole thing.
Absolutely. No, fantastic. And I was mentioning that one slide, and that beautifully all 17s are being aligned, I believe. I'm not sure if the government did it. You did that.
No. Yeah, no, I'll be sorry if government does not agree with this. But this is my perception of the thing.
Fantastic. Okay. So any other observations or question Anu has to make some of? Fantastic. Anu, over to you.
Thank you very much, Gaurav. Mr. Pandey, you were amazing. You know, it was such a heavy this thing. Maybe I'm not very intelligent. I don't have the gray cells to understand the budget. I'll not say that I've fully understood it, but yes, I can now make an attempt. I would want to compliment Ms. Chitrakala, like where she talked about school development plans, grading, self-assessment, which is very, very innovative. And then because Mr. Pandey started with speak your mind, maybe I sound like a dodo who has not really understood in full spirit, but I think I'm slightly better off than where I was, but I think I need to learn. But thank you very much. Chitrakala ma'am, I really liked it. I have forgotten the name.
Thank you so much.
I'm just speaking my mind. That's what Mr. Pandey said. Speak your mind. Maybe you make sense or you do not make sense, but just speak it. But I liked that cliched feed forward, not feedback. I'm going to use that. So sorry if I replicate it, but I'll definitely take your name when I use it. Thank you, Gaurav. It was
fantastic.
Learning something which...
No, in fact,
I don't even know, I sort of got confused with business plan and budget, but it's okay. Good, I was here.
Fantastic. Good. Thank you, Anu. Thank you very much. And I think this is any other observation anyone has to make. We will quickly take up, and well, otherwise we'll have to say thank you to Ashok ji and all of you who had joined in. Right? Any other observation? Anyone? Or any other question? If anyone has a question to make? No? Mathura ji, आप बोलना चाह रहे हैं कुछ?
जी sir.
हाँ बोलिए please.
Really, I am so happy that Pandey Saab has given the great outline for the budget, and I really respect Pandey Saab. Ashok Pandey Saab, thank you so much. Great job you have done.
Thank you, sir.
It's really starting.
Thank you, sir.
And Gorakhpur, sir, I was there in Gorakhpur, Mount Litra, Gorakhpur.
Okay.
I was the principal. Mount Litra, Gorakhpur.
He is presently in
Taramandal Road, I was living there.
Yes.
Okay.
Gorakhpur is like my hometown, sir.
Okay. Very nice to know that, Mr. Prasad ji. I'm delighted.
Thank you, sir.
जी बस मैं एक चीज और ऐड कर देना चाहती हूँ इसमें. गोरखपुर वाले होते ही ऐसे हैं, बहुत ही इंटेलिजेंट.
नहीं मैडम, ऐसा नहीं है.
अशोक सर के मतलब बहुत ही अच्छा लगा. I was very much impressed the way you have taken up this topic. It was very nice, and I am also glad to hear that you are from Gorakhpur. और कहीं ना कहीं तो लिंक हो ही गया.
हाँ, मुझे लग रहा है आप सेकंड वाले पार्ट से ज्यादा प्रभावित हैं कंपेयर टू पहले वाले पार्ट से. हाँ, गोरखपुर वाले से ज्यादा. तो सही बात बोला. नहीं, बहुत अच्छा लगा. इनफैक्ट मैं तो अशोक सर चाहे गोरखपुर से ना भी, बट ही इज सच अ वंडरफुल ह्यूमन बीइंग. दैट्स अ ब्यूटी पार्ट के मतलब मैंने सिर्फ एक मैसेज लिखा कि मैंने कहा सर आपको आना है, और उन्होंने कहा नहीं गौरव बिल्कुल करिए, आप प्लान करिए इसको बोलते हैं. एंड और कितना बढ़िया डिलिब्रेशन है कि इसको तो हम लोग को इनफैक्ट सभी फोरम को करना चाहिए कि बजट इज समथिंग वी ऑल शुड रियली अंडरस्टैंड. माय पॉइंट इज समहाउ हम उसको बड़ा हैवी वर्ड के तौर पे ले जाते हैं. जैसे अनु ने बोला, मुझे बड़ा अच्छी बात लगी, अनु स्पोक हर हार्ट आउट दैट व्हाइल आई टोल्ड हर बजट, तो अनु से डरे यार मैं क्या करूंगी बजट में आके फॉर दैट मैटर. But having said this, she came in, and I'm sure आपने जिस तरह से उसको समझाया बातों को बहुत अच्छा लगा. Sunil, आप बोलना चाह रहे हैं कुछ? Please go ahead.
Good evening, Ashok sir.
Good evening, Sunil ji. Good evening.
Gaurav sir.
Good evening. Good evening. कहाँ से हैं आप? थोड़ा परिचय दें अपना.
Yeah, sorry sir.
थोड़ा परिचय दें, कहाँ से हैं आप?
I'm from Delhi, principal of Whiteley's Public School, Delhi.
अच्छा, दिल्ली से.
Okay. And I am watching stock market and budget for last plenty of years.
Okay.
And my is probably the last comment, probably the last comment of the day. As Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, who is called the Warren Buffett of India, he's given 10 out of 10 to this budget. We are on for a very good next year, where we have an estimation of 10 to 11% of growth. And I'll just end what I want to say quickly. We are the budget was wonderful. Good bold step taken by the finance minister Sitharaman. A couple of things I would like to mention here. Stake of few companies have been proposed by the FM. Companies like Air India, Concor India, BPCL. These have been told, which is a very bold step, and stock market has reacted very positively. We were 7,500 on 20. The stock market was on 7,500 on 23rd March, if I'm not wrong, last year, 2020. Today we are on all-time high 15,000. So 1 year the market has doubled. Sorry, I'm going technical. I might be like, going out of the thing, but because this is a budget topic, I have to say this. And I'm sorry, I'm going out of the way.
No.
बोलिए आप अच्छा बोल रहे हैं, बोलिए.
I won't because वो फिर बिल्कुल ही budget हो जाएगा, then it will be a different session. I just wanted to say that, and I'm really thankful that we have such a bold FM who has taken good steps this year, and I'm very happy with the budget. Because I'm a finance person actually.
चलिए, आपने 10 on 10 भी दे दिया. चलिए, अच्छी बात है. Good, fantastic.
Sir, I didn't give. Rakesh Jhunjhunwala is giving.
नहीं, मेरा कहने का मतलब है आपने भी दिया और हमने भी दे दिया. चलिए, 10 on 10.
Who am I to give? I'm giving.
नहीं. Rashmi, you were saying something. आप बोल रहे चाह रहे थे कुछ? हाँ? अच्छा नहीं.
Sorry.
No problem. चलिए, fantastic. So I would say, firstly, a sincere thank you to Ashok sir. Any other observation by anyone? I'm sure abhi nahi hai. Agar hai to aap bataiye, no problem. And as far as my whole view of doing this was to make our understanding of the budget a little better, because we all are a very important stakeholder in the growth of this country. Every citizen of this country is equally important, I must say, number one. And the only thing which is expected out of us is that we should really take the budget on the merit of it, rather than seeing it which political party does it or who does it. And at least that's the least we can do as a very well-informed citizen of this country, because the last thing we need is misinformation or miscalculation, I would say. So having said this, though I brought in the element of disclaimer, but I personally feel Ashok ji, obviously because of his beautiful style, brought in the entire holisticity of a budget, which is very important to understand, I would say. And those pillars, I would say 6 pillars, were so wonderfully explained. And having said this, I would only like to say that I wish we continue to strive as a nation. That's the only thing we are all aiming for. That's our only goal we have single-handedly as a country. And who is in power, who is not in power, should be very, very immaterial. At the end of the day, the cost of this country's progress is the only prize we all should be aiming for. That's it. And I think I pass on to the last message from Ashok ji, and then we'll say bye-bye to everyone.
No, absolutely, Gaurav. I mean, it has been very, very overwhelming, and you create careers out of non-careers. You have made me a budget expert. So since you asked me to do it, I did some research because I follow the budget every year. And the most interesting part of the budget for me, of course, is which quote the finance minister has picked up for this year. So that has been my research for many, many years. And some of the glimpses I gave to you, because I'm a science person, but I think without art and literature and emotions, nothing is complete. That is my firm belief. And I am personally, I was little disappointed that no big bang announcements in the education sector were made, but as somebody, who understands the whole economy in a very, very limited sense, I know the finance ministers have their limitations. But as I said, the enablers are there, intent is there, and I think money will not be a constraint to implement NEP. That is my the whole belief, and I'm very, very happy about it. So thank you very much to everybody who joined in, listened to me very, very patiently, and showed that yes, I'm worth listening to. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. And I think I have never met Mr. B. Singh ji. B. Singh ji, namaskar. Good to have you as well for the first time maybe, but.
Dr. B. Singh is a very, very illustrious educationist.
Oh, lovely.
And he has been educational director, principal, a fantastic teacher, and now he is a consultant.
Oh, fantastic. Good to have you as well, and look forward to in future interactions as well.
Gaurav, I wanted to know, you have any intention to have more programs on school development, creating rubrics and all this?
Why not, sir? I mean, we should obviously do as much as we can, and I would love to have an interaction with you on that as well. No problem. I will. Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Manju Tiwari कुछ बोलना चाह रही हैं? मंजू जी आप कुछ बोलना चाह रही थी? फाइनल चीज ले लेते हैं, नहीं तो फिर अब बाबे। मंजू आप बोल रही हैं कुछ? चलिए, एनीवे थैंक यू सर। अशोक सर अनम्यूट नहीं हो पा रहा है, अनम्यूट हुआ है मेरे ख्याल से। मंजू आप कुछ बोल रही हैं?
Gaurav, I just wanted to tell that gentleman who was talking about 60% he has in school and he's starting a new school. So just a word of optimism, like, move ahead with optimism, expect, engage parents. Cost is directly proportional to the choices you make. So probably that 60% will not be a heartbreak. You'll manage to go forward. Mr. Singh had that question. So I don't know.
I'm sure Harvant is here. But having said this,
Mr. Singh, don't be demotivated. Just move ahead with optimism. Engage parents, make them supercharged, cost directly proportional to choices, create your own priorities, you will love it. You will not even feel 60%. So best of luck.
Thank you so very much, ma'am. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ashok, sir. Once again,
thank you, Gaurav.
On behalf of everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hope to see you soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.